Pabalik po ang Republika, kausap pa rin po natin ang columnista ng Manila Times, si Gil Santos. Siya po siyang professor ng Geopolitics and Journalism sa Lyceum of the Philippines. We have a saying, beware of friends bringing gifts. Would this apply to China? Or specifically Beijing, actually?
Yes, because it is in their national interest to offer assistance, quote, assistance, unquote. You know. But at the same time, they are not doing it out of goodness of their heart. In the same manner that the British did it, you know, to Europe, or the French did it during the Napoleonic Wars, you know, or the Americans did it. No, every nation, powerful nation, and economically big nation, will offer you something in exchange for something bigger that they give to you. There's a saying, remember, there is no free lunch, and it applies especially to national interest. Which is the only permanent thing in international relations. Yeah.
To be very blunt about it, if this was a relationship, they are the men and we are the women in this situation.
Yes, because why? Because here comes the suitor, you know, and we're the Filipina, the pearl of the Orient. And they say, I'll give you this, I'll give you that.
But
okay, but I want to go to bed with you tonight.
Yes.
You know? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
There are other men who are interested in this woman. Why don't we offer all the others too, so that our national interest is served correctly and we benefit out of this relationship?
This was a briefer on your May 20 column called China, Deception and Diplomacy.
Yes, because they're going to offer you the silk, the one road, what's that? One belt, one road.
One belt, one road. Yeah.
Okay. And they're saying, we will connect you to Beijing.
Yes.
Because China is the biggest market in the world.
Yes.
With 1.3 billion people. But are they really the biggest market? And what are they doing now in terms of stealing intellectual property rights? You know,
especially from the U.S. No.
And even from us.
Yeah, okay.
You know, did you know that the consultant of China on bamboo and bamboo culture is a Filipino?
Okay.
By the name of Santa Ana.
Really?
And he's still around. You know? I even got his phone number. You know. But did the Chinese acknowledge this? No, they did not. The Chinese did, as I said in my earlier columns, did wonders with their agricultural reforms because of two Filipinos, you know?
Okay, two Filipinos?
Two Filipinos. One of them was Dioscoro Umali of the UP.
Okay.
And the other is, let me try to remember his name, who was also with FAO in Rome at that time. And they went there and they looked at the Chinese agriculture, and they gave the recommendation. The Chinese agreed, and they implemented the recommendation. This is the reason China has a booming agriculture today. They followed it, you know.
We always hear this, and I don't know whether this is the excuse, whether it's a viable position as far as our diplomatic relations with China is concerned. But we hear this: we're not ready to go to war. We're going to lose. We're going to be defeated if we figure out in a shooting war. But again, I'd like to throw this, Gil, no? Can an incident turn into a war? Because there have been incidents with Indonesia and Vietnam, but they never had war. Their trade even continued, and China ended up respecting the countries that started shooting at them.
Look, let's face it. War is not resorted to unless it is the last resort, really. Number one. Number two, if there is no miscalculation on the part of any field commander that is being attacked and therefore will counterattack, there is not going to be any shooting war. You know? Now, when the Chinese said, we are not going to go into a shooting war, I believe that. They don't want to go into a shooting war.
Okay.
Neither does the U.S.
Okay.
You know? Neither does the European Union.
Yes.
The only crazy guys would be Iran and North Korea, you know, because what have they got to lose? Now, if, however, a country like as big as China has a domestic issue, we don't really know which one, that would push them to unite.
Yes.
and they cannot unite unless it's a war to blame
Yeah.
foreigners,
Yeah.
like Hitler did,
Yes.
then they will not go to war.
Exactly.
But if that condition of having to blame somebody just to unite the people and forget about their domestic problem, they will go to war.
Well, again, I go back to my thesis, Hill. Following the Vietnamese model and the Indonesian model, there was an incident. It was a shooting incident, okay,
With China.
with China,
Yeah.
but there was no war. So
No, because-
what I'm saying is, can that formula work for the Philippines? Let's make a stand. There will be a shooting war. There might be a boat that will sink. There will be dead Filipino soldiers, and there will be also dead Chinese soldiers. But
yes, there can be. There can be. It can be done. It can be done.
in short, can an incident create for us a situation where the Chinese have realized we have to respect these people because now they're going to make a stand?
Yes, it can be done. Look, what did Vietnam do some 4 or 5 years ago when the Chinese brought in their oil rig
Yes.
off Hainan
Yes.
and closer to Vietnam?
Yes.
The Chinese said, that's how you want it? Burn the Chinatown in Hanoi.
Okay.
So what did the vice premier do? He went to Hanoi and apologized and withdrew the tanker.
Why
withdrew the oil rig.
Oh, Vietnam was able to do it.
Yeah. Well, there's one difference.
What's the
the
difference?
Vietnamese always claim we never lost a war, which is true. They
Okay.
didn't lose the war with the French.
Okay.
They won it in Dien Bien Phu in
Yes,
1954.
Yes.
They won it against the
The
Americans
Americans?
in 1975.
Yes.
And they are now united, the East, the North and the South.
Okay.
So they are really justified in saying they never lost a war.
Okay.
And therefore, as far as they're concerned, why not?
They have the gumption to fight back, in short.
They have the guts.
But
to do it.
Indonesia, how about
Well,
Indonesia?
Well, Indonesia fought the Dutch,
Okay, yes.
and they said, what the hell, there are so many of us, we can fight, and this is our land. Itu, Indonesia, and only for the Indonesians. Therefore, they do it. In short, the political will to do it
Is
must
there.
be present. Must be present.
And we don't have that political will.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
But you will agree with me that the courage is there for every Filipino, that there are Filipinos who say, no, we have to make a stand on this issue. We cannot allow this to continue.
Yes. But however, on the other hand, I give the present leadership some kind of benefit of doubt.
Okay.
They are probably saying this, but I hope
They're doing
something which we should never even talk about, because that is something for the national security. Yeah. But in my column, I suggested that we should be not an enemy of anyone, but friends to all. Therefore, why not one? Get into a non-aggression pact with China.
Okay.
Number two, get into a closer relationship with India and Japan and South Korea,
And South Korea.
China, and Taiwan.
Yes.
Number three, we should now have a closer relationship with what you call the Quad, which is the security
Yes,
arrangements between Australia, the U.S., India, and Japan. And now New Zealand is getting in.
It's on board, yeah.
So why don't we? Because the ASEAN has this regional forum.
Why aren't we doing it?
I don't know.
Why?
This is up to the ASEAN leadership. You see.
And why are we dividing? It seems to be that the issue is, the Beijing is just protecting its own sphere because of American incursions, etc., etc. It has become an issue between, and we're caught in the middle between the Chinese and the Americans. When we on our own, sons the Americans, sons the Chinese, we have to be actually making a stand on our own territory.
Exactly.
And we don't want
to be respected.
to be
yes.
respected. And, but are we being respected in your own in your own analysis?
No, we're not. We're
okay.
not. We're not.
I've
And
heard
this
this
is
many
the
times, Hill. No, people say that, national security experts say the temperament of Beijing is, if you fight,
Yes.
even if you know that you cannot win,
Yeah.
they'll end up respecting you because bullies usually respect people who fight back,
Correct.
even if they're defeated.
Correct.
And what would the bullies, sense of analysis of the situation be when he keeps on pushing you, and you just
Well,
and you take it?
just like what acting Chief Justice Carpio said,
Yeah.
you know, fight back, even at least giving them a bloody nose, you know, they're going to respect you. Yeah, because-
But will that argument fly that you know the Beijing is doing this because of the Americans, and we cannot take sides. We cannot be with the Americans. We cannot be with the Chinese. But the pendulum seems to be closer to Beijing than to Washington in this case.
because they're afraid that Beijing is closer to us physically, geographically, you know,
Okay.
and therefore they can be here easier. And I say, in the present technologies of warfare, you know, that is no longer land bases are no longer required.
Okay.
There are several. I think the next war is going to be fought by submarines and Polaris missiles and
Okay.
nuclear warheads, you know.
Do you see the West Philippine Sea eventually being subjugated by Beijing?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't think so. Because I think somewhere in the next, 20 years,
Yes.
when the Chinese economy slows down because of its domestic problems,
And there's a lot of it.
yeah, and where the ASEAN is going to really emerge and the Philippines is going to lead that emergence, it's not yours or my word, but it's the word of all the international financial institutions, you know, that we will hit the 7.2 growth rate. You know.
Okay.
And that is wonderful because once you get to that point, once the ASEAN gets to that point, then we say, hey, China, you talk to us now as a group, don't treat us, don't bully us. Before you were treating us like four eyes only, you know, one-on-one. No, now you talk with 10 as a group. You know?
So bilateral talks does not augur well for the Philippines. That's what you're saying.
No. Why? Because we are not going to be negotiating from strength.
Okay.
It is simple in diplomacy that if you negotiate for anything, you must negotiate from the point of strength. And strength in the case of the ASEAN comes as a group, not individually.
Question. I think the Beijing has studied us so well. They're very patient. They know our reactions before we even do it. Why haven't we even, like other countries, improved on Pag-asa Island, the runways, putting up new camps, putting lighthouses?
Well, admittedly, our economy, as the Philippine economy alone, as it stands, cannot afford it. You know,
Even fixing the runway.
fixing the runway is something else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pag-asa Island, let's fix the runway. Let's put some lighthouses. Let's add more soldiers. Let's even buy missiles. Why aren't we thinking under these terms?
There was even a suggestion which I considered at that time ridiculous.
Yes.
Said, move Muntinlupa and the death row over to that West
island.
Philippine Sea,
Yes,
the
yes,
island,
yes.
so that the Chinese will say, okay, so they can fight back. They've nothing to lose, you know?
yes.
Then they will respect us.
But actually, Hill, no? All the other countries have been improving their runways, their ports. Some of them want to create it into a tourism spot. The Philippines has actually been stagnating as far as Pag-asa Island is concerned, and I think part of the reason is because it might be viewed as provocative when we return.